Hello and welcome to the wisdom of Dr. Dodipoll, which this is the second part of our read through, just as has been pointed out. The character in the play, Dr. Doddy, is not called Dr. Dodipoll. He's only as an insult is he called Dr. Dodipoll. And so far he's only been called it once and has now vowed revenge on everyone who calls him Dr. Dodipoll. So don't call him Dr. Dodipoll. His name's Dr. Doddy, okay? It's just rude to do anything other than get his name right. Yeah, we're halfway through this play. It's a very, very confusing play to read. I think it's been stated that it would make a lot more sense seen visually and trying to explain all the tangled love plots. There are lots of tangled love plots doing sort of weavy things. Here is sort of the plot in interpretive dance for you. And yeah, it's a bit of a farce. There's a love potion that sent someone mad. The good doctor who's slightly annoyed at someone who has been particularly rude to him. Lots of people are trying to fall in love with other people who may not be interested in them, or fall in love with people and be interested, but some other complication has come in the way, and it's all very wibbly wobbly timey-wimey. So without further ado, we're going to go into the characters who are the people who are going to be reading these characters as we go through the second half of the play. We're going from Act 3, Scene 3 to the end of the text. So today, reading A Peasant and Dr. Doddy is...
Hi, I'm Steve Longstaff. I'm a scholar of early modern drama based in Lancaster in the UK.
And reading A Merchant, Ambassador and a Messenger today is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian and I'm in Yorkshire.
And today reading An Enchanter and Hyanthe is...
Hello there, my name's Sasha Cooper and I'm a professional actress, performer, director and writer based in Brighton in the UK.
And reading today Lucilia and Casimir is...
Hello, my mic is on. My name is Lynn. I'm a teacher. I live in the United States.
Reading Hardenberg and Constantine, and not here for the first part, so he's going to be totally confused, is...
Hello, Dan, actor, confused in Montpellier, France.
Reading Rafe and Cornelia today is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amicio and I'm an author based in Romford.
Today reading Lassenberg today is...
I'm Lois, retired academic, living in London.
Reading Albadura today is...
I'm Eric, and I am slowly descending into madness, apparently, in this play.
Reading Motho and Leander today is...
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm an actor, writer, and director living in Germany.
And reading Flores and Alfonso today is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott. I'm neither an academic nor an actor, but I'm still based in Suffolk.
And reading Hans and Catherine today is...
Hello, I'm Tamara. I'm an actor, and I am probably already mad.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading in a couple of spare parts where the doubling falls apart. There are a lot of characters in this play, which makes doubling, even with a relatively large room, quite tricky, so I may have completely messed that up. So to find out whether I've got the schedule entirely wrong, we are going to leap into some text with Act 3, Scene 3. Just a note, we're going to have the entrance of Lassenberg in a moment, who's being followed by Lucilia, who loves him, but he has decided he isn't in love with her anymore because he can have her. But before that, there's some music playing within, and enter a peasant.
'Tis night. In good faith, I am out of my way. Hark! What brave music is this? Under the green hill.
Enter fairies. I'll say that again. Enter fairies bringing in a banquet.
Oh, dainty, rare, a banquet. Would to Christ I were one of their guests. God's aid, a fine little dapper fellow has spied me. What will he do? He comes to make me drink. I thank you, sir. Some of your victuals, I pray. Sir, no, keep your meat. I have enough. Aye. The cup, your faith.
And enter the spirit with banqueting stuff, and missing the peasant looks up and down for him. The rest wondering at him. To them enters the enchanter.
Where is my precious cup, you antic flames? 'Tis thou that hast conveyed it from my bower, and I will bind thee in some hellish cave till thou recover it again for me. You that are bodies made of lightest air, to let a peasant mounted on a jade cozen your courtesies and run away. With such a jewel worthy are to endure eternal penance in the lake of fire.
And unto this, or not, who knows, enter Lassingberg and Lucilia.
Wilt thou not cease then to pursue me still? Should I entreat thee to attend me thus, then thou wouldst pine and rest, then thy soft feet would be repining at these niggard stones. Now I forbid thee, thou pursuest like wind, no tedious space of time nor storm can tire thee. But I will seek out some high, slippery close, where every step shall reach the gate of death, that fear may make thee cease to follow me.
There will I bodiless be when you are there, for love despiseth death and scorneth fear.
I'll wander where some boisterous river parts the solid continent, and swim from thee.
And then I'll follow, though I drown for thee.
But I forbid thee.
I desire thee more.
Art thou so obstinate?
You taught me so.
I see thou lovest me not.
I know I do.
Do all I bid thee, then.
Bid then as I may do.
I bid thee leave me.
That I cannot do.
My hate.
My love.
My torment.
My delight.
Why do I strain to weary thee with words? Speech makes thee live. I'll then with silence kill thee. Henceforth be deaf to thy words, and dumb to thy mind.
What rock hath bred this savage-minded man, that such true love and such rare beauty shines? Long since I pitied her, pity breeds love, and love commands the assistance of my art, to include them in the bounds of my command. Here stay your wandering steps, chime silver strings, chime hollow caves, and chime you whistling reeds, for music is the sweetest chime for love. Spirits, bind him, and let me leave my love.
So that's the end of that scene. That's all perfectly straightforward and entirely fits in with the keeping of the rest of the play so far.
Not.
So let's start at the top. We have the entrance of random comedy peasant, and this business of, requesting food from one fairy. It seems that there's one spirit who gets confused about who he's serving, and that creates all sorts of bother. And all the other fairies are looking at him like at this other spirit, going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" So it's really weird, random bit of comedy business. I think it's probably quite effective, but why? Why? Any thoughts?
Well, the essence of it is that the peasant goes off with the cup.
Yes.
A precious cup.
Mm.
They've decided there isn't enough plot so far.
Yeah.
They're wrong.
Yes, nothing happened in the first half of the play. It's just nothing occurred.
But the peasant is supposed to be mounted on a jade.
Mm.
But there's no horse. I mean, maybe this is another play with a horse on stage.
Mm. Maybe. I'm going to say no, but maybe. I do like collecting horses, but I don't feel this is a strong contender.
It's almost like this is a new play. Just two characters come back. It's weird.
But I'm sure it will. I mean, if literally this is the only appearance of the Enchanter, then I would agree with you. But I'm going to spoilers. They will return. So Lassenberg, perhaps we'll move on to, there was more hands on previous. Lois, do you want to jump in?
I just wondered whether the peasant might be riding a hobby horse. I mean, it's described as a jade. And it would just be one extra joke, and it would be easier for him to control that with one hand and hold the cup with the other.
2 coconuts.
Would they be Imperial?
Are you suggesting they migrate? Sorry.
No. We then, as I say, have the return of someone from the rest of the play, like Lassenberg and Lucilia. And it's all a bit desperate, isn't it? It's all a bit desperate. Any thoughts?
Just that Lassenberg is really, really annoying me. Yeah, like really annoying me. I mean, it's bad enough that once he can have what he said he wanted, he doesn't want it anymore. Not that, I mean, that's super annoying. But then he says to Lucilia, should I entreat thee to attend me this, then thou wouldst pant and rest. So basically he's saying, if I were asking you to follow me, then you would make excuses not to, and you'd complain about it, blah, blah, blah. Like he's accusing her of being as perverse and contrary as he is, based on basically nothing. I mean, he's just, I know we're supposed to be family friendly here, but he's shitty. He's just shitty.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It's interesting. One of our patrons actually did ask for us to look at Lassenberg in some detail quite a long time ago, actually. I'm interested now about their motives, why they wanted to know more about. Maybe they detected the arse hattery of Lassenberg and they wanted more exposition on that. So interesting. Any other thoughts about this scene before we move on? It's quite a short scene. We've lingered a while. Eric.
I'm just trying to work out, is the Enchanter now in love with Lucilia, or is it just like him going like, I'm going to solve this because, she deserves to feel love, even if it's like, whatever.
I suspect the latter. I didn't detect any of the former myself, but hey, I'm up for it. Okay, let's move on to Act 3, Scene 4. Enter Albadura. I'm assuming a bit mad, but he may not be. He might have calmed down. I don't know if he's got an axe or not. He may or may not have an axe. So Emperor Albadura at one door and meets with the peasant. Peasant returns at the other door.
Hyanthe, oh sweet Hyanthe, have I met thee? How is thy beauty changed since our departure? A beard, Hyanthe, oh, 'tis grown with grief, but now this love shall tear thy grief from thee.
And you? What are you? Truth, I think I am haunted with spirits.
Weep not, Hyanthe, I will weep for thee. Lend me thy eyes. Oh, villain, thou art he that in the top of Erwin's hill danced with the moon and eat up all the stars, which made thee like Hyanthe shine so fair. But villain, I will rip them out of thee.
And enter Motho and others.
Slid, hold your hands.
I come with thunder.
Come on, you dare.
Hold, villain, 'tis the young Prince Albaduri.
Well, let the young prince hold then. Slid, I've no stars in my belly. Let him seek his Hyanthe where he will.
Oh, this way by the glimmering of the sun and the legerity of her sweet feet. She scouted on, and I will follow her. I see her, like a golden spangle, sit upon the curled branch of yonder tree. Sit still, Hyanthe, I will fly to thee.
And exit Albadura.
Follow! Follow! Follow!
Exit all except for the peasant, and then enter Flores and Hans.
Together and be hanged. Oh, here comes more. Pray God I had better luck with these two. By your leave, sir, do you know one Master Flores, I pray?
What wouldst thou have with him?
Yes, sir. I'm directed to you by Lady Fortune with a piece of plate. I do hope you'll use plain dealing, being a jeweller.
Where hadst thou this?
In a very strange place, sir.
He stole it, sir, I warned you.
I never saw a gem so precious, so wonderful in substance and in art. Fellow, confess precisely where thou hadst it.
Faith, sir, I had it in a cave in the bottom of a fine green hill where I found a company of fairies. I think they call them.
Sawest thou any more such furniture there?
Store, sir, store.
And canst thou bring me thither?
With a wet finger, sir.
And have a good cheer too?
Excellent.
Oh, sweet thief.
'Tis sure some place enchanted, which this ring will soon dissolve and guard me free from fair. Here's for the cup. Come, guide me quickly thither. Could I be possessed of more such gems, I were the wealthiest jeweller on earth.
And they exit. So does Flores have a magic ring?
He has a second.
I think that's just a beard, yes.
Right, okay. That's every jeweler of it, master jeweler obviously makes a magic ring. That's just obviously that's your that's what, yeah. Okay. Good comedy business with the peasant. Liking the peasant stuff there. There's some really nice bits and pieces. Albador is sort of the comic bit of just going, "You are high Anthony," and he's just going, "What?" And, "Oh, what a wonderful beard you have, my dear." It's yeah, it's good stuff. Very random.
Brilliant. Someone yesterday was saying it's a little unusual to have 2 clowns, Hans and Moat, but now we have 3, Hans, Moat, and the peasant.
I was going to say there's 3 clowns.
And they can't be doubling.
Breeding. You know, they're breeding.
Well, Doctor Doddy is pretty clownish.
Yeah, I think yeah, we may be getting hung up on the idea of a clown, especially if it's a boys' company. Whether that's a distinction that you really have. Just you just have lots of good performers potentially, and especially depending on who the peasant is doubled with. Assuming that he is doubled, he may not be, but feels like he's someone on holiday from playing somebody else. Bless his cotton socks. But yeah, he does read like very very clownish. Yeah. Other thoughts? Just it's not even where do you start? Where do you stop?
More cowbell.
Yeah.
I mean, the peasant is so direct. I had it in a cave at the bottom of a fine green hill where I found a company of fairies, I think they call them.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the last bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't introduce themselves by name.
No. Well, I do like
They
the
look
fact.
like fairies. They just look like fairies.
Yeah. I like the fact that they.
You know fairies when you see them.
Everybody knows fairies when they see them.
Exactly.
Okay, moving swiftly on. I do like the fact that they immediately assume that this peasant having this massive job, he must have stolen it, which is perfectly legitimate. How did you end up with this briefcase full of money, sir? Oh yeah, fairies gave it to me, and they immediately believe him.
It's play. Come on. Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe we need more evidence because we really can't connect this very much with the earlier stuff. We can, but not a huge amount. So let's move on to Act 3, Scene 5, final scene of this act. And yes, okay. Enter Enchanter, leading Lucilia and Lassingberg, bound by spirits. Who, being laid down on a green bank, the spirits fetch in a banquet, and there is a song. O princely face and fair that lightens all the air, would God my eyes kind fire might life and soul inspire, to thy rich beauty shining in my heart's treasure, the unperfect words refining for perfect pleasure.
Lie there and lose the memory of her who likewise have forgot the thought of thee by my enchantments. Come, sit down, fair nymph, and taste the sweetness of these heavenly cakes, whilst on the hollow crannies of this rock music shall sound to recreate my love. But tell me, had you ever lover yet?
I had a lover, I think, but who it was, or when, or how, long since I know not. Yet beat my timorous thoughts on such a thing. I feel a passionate heart, but find no flame. Think what I know not, nor know what I think.
Hast thou forgot me then? I am thy love, whom sweetly thou wert wont to entertain with looks, with vows of love, with amorous kisses. Look'st thou so strange? Dost thou not know me yet?
Sure I should know you.
Why, love, doubt you that? 'Twas I that led you through the painted meadows, when the light fairies danced upon the flowers, hanging on every leaf an orient pearl, which, struck together with the silver wind of their loose mantles, made a silvery chime. 'Twas I that, winding my shrill bugle horn, made a gilt palace break out at the hill, filled suddenly with troops of knights and dames who danced and revelled, whilst we sweetly slept upon a bed of roses, wrapped all in gold. Dost thou not know me yet?
Yes, now I know you.
Come then, confirm thy knowledge with a kiss.
Nay, stay. You are not he. How strange is this?
Thou art grown passing strange, my love, to him that made thee so long since his bride.
Oh, was it you? Come then. Oh, stay a while. I know not what I am, nor where I am, nor you, nor these I know, nor anything.
Enter Flores with Hans and the peasant.
This is the green, sir, where I had the cup, and this the bottom of the falling hill, and this way I went following the sound, and see...
Oh, see, and seeing eat withal.
What? Lassenberg laid bound, and fond Lucilia, wantonly feasting by a stranger's side? Peasant, begone!
Knowing his place, the peasant exits.
Stand you there and stir not. Now sparkle forth thy beams, thou virtuous gem, and loose these strong enchantments.
Ah, stay! Ay me, we are betrayed! Haste, spirits, and remove this table and these cups. Remove, I say! Our incantations strangely are dissolved.
And exit the enchanter with spirits and banquets.
Muted. Oh, spiteful churls, have they carried away all? Has haste made no waste?
My lord, Earl Lassenberg, oh, pardon me.
Away from me.
Oh, can I, in these bands, forget my duty to of my love to you? Were they of iron, of strong adamant, my hands would tear them from my wronged lord.
O Lassenberg, to what undoubted peril of life and honour had you brought yourself by obstinacy of your froward mind? Had not my fortune brought me to this place, to loose the enchantment which enthralled you both by hidden virtue of this precious ring? Come, therefore, friendly, and embrace at last the living partner of your strange mishaps, justly pursuing you, a flying her.
Leave me, I say. I can endure no more.
Have I loosed thee then to fly from me?
Way!
And he exits.
I'll follow thee.
And Flores tarries Lucilia.
Dear father, pardon me.
Sirrah, attender, poor wretch, I fear this too much love in thee is fatal to thee. Up, sirrah, follow your mistress.
Aye, sir, I go. My mistress dogs the banquet, and I dog her.
Exit and end act. WTF. It's Well, yeah, Eric was closer with the former than the latter, actually. Yeah, very interested in Lucilia, and doing the sort of whole magic forgetting thing, old wives' tale style. To try, but her will, and her memory, and her spirit is too strong. And then Flores enters with his magic ring, and they are banished.
Yeah, that's where we have this a further complication of the enchanter falling in love with Lucilia, but then that goes nowhere. It's just very odd.
It's just the idea of Flores as magical savior. What? I know they lampshaded it in the previous scene, but come on. I'm not enjoying this in a weird way, but I'm just going, no. Sorry, Lois.
I thought Lucilia's confusion was very interesting. You know, moments where she thinks she knows him and then she doesn't. I mean, it must be something he's doing that reminds her of Lassingberg. I mean, presumably, I'm pretty sure that when Lassingberg says that she was his wife or virtually his wife, he just means they had sex. And maybe the enchanter is somehow reminding her. I don't know, but that's really very interesting. Creepy.
Yes, I mean,
Very creepy.
Maybe we should be glad it doesn't go anywhere. It's perhaps another way of putting it. As that, it's an interesting thing to play with, but let's not live there.
But it is really interesting and unusual, I think, for a spell to kind of work. They either work or they don't. Usually in these fictive situations, that the spell makes you completely forget your previous love and fall in love with somebody else. When we know we can name an example from that, but we won't. Or the magician is bogus and it doesn't work. But it sort of works and it sort of doesn't. Strikes me as quite unusual.
Helen.
Yes, I mean, I think it speaks to her strength, Lucilia's strength, that she is fighting for reality the whole time and doing a remarkably good job. In fact, the enchanter, I think, is somewhat baffled by how good a job she's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is dependent on who's playing the enchanter. I mean, if it's David Bowie and it's in a labyrinth mode, then maybe we might not go where Sarah's been going in the chat. Sarah, you're
You have no power over me.
Just to let you know, if it's David Bowie, I'm saying yes.
Absolutely, apart from not in those trousers.
Antonio Banderas for me.
Am I really the only one who thought he was creepy in the labyrinth? Okay.
Yeah, no, he is. I'm a lifelong Bowie fan, but he's just very creepy in that role.
But that shows how good an actor he was at that point. You know.
Okay, and welcome to the David Bowie Hour.
You started this.
Yes, to be fair, we have a Muppets theme, so any Jim Henson creation is fair game. Okay, pulling it back to the play.
Ground control to Robert.
Yes, Eric.
I was just going to say, Lucilia is Flores' daughter, right? So how come he's not offended or like trying to kill, what's the name, Lassenberg for offending his honor or something? Like trying to go back on an agreement, basically.
Dispose of the rich boy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Not good for business.
My Lord Earl Lassenberg. Oh, pardon me. I mean, the thing is, she unties him. And he still says, "Leave me, I say." I mean, the man's a complete tit.
Yeah,
I mean, most of them seem to be.
Yeah, that does.
In this play.
there does seem to be a general theme of the play is that just the male dentists tend to be bastards. So good. On that note, I think we need to move on into Act 4. Let's see if it gets better or worse. So enter Motho, Rafe, bringing in Albadura.
Oh, so, sir, lay even down your handiwork.
Nay, sir, your handiwork, for you are the cause of his drowning.
I defy thee! Wert not thou next him when he leapt into the river?
Oh, monstrous liar!
Lie? You peasant, go to. I'll go tell the Duke.
Aye, sir, I'll go with you. I warn you.
And they exit, leaving Albadura. Who's muted? But I'm sure it was beautifully acted.
Sorry. What sudden cold is this that makes me shake, whose veins were even now filled with raging fire? How am I thus all wet? What water is this that lies so ice-like, freezing in my blood? I think it hath the cold of it, and hath cured my heat, for I'm better tempered than before. But in what unacquainted place am I? Oh, where's my Hyanthe? Where's Leander? What, all alone? Nothing but woods and streams? I cannot guess where these events should grow.
Enter peasant.
Oh, that I could lose my way for another cup now. I was well paid for it, your faith.
Yonder is one. I'll inquire of him. Fellow ho, peasant.
Oh, me, the madman again. The madman.
Say, whither fliest thou?
Pray let me go, sir. I am not Hyanthe. In truth, I am not, sir.
Hyanthe, villain? Wherefore namest thou her?
And if I have any scars in my belly, pray God I starve, sir.
The wretch is mad, I think.
Oh, aye, sir. You be not mad. You are well amended, sir.
Why tell'st me thou of madness?
Well, you were a little better than mad even now, sir, when you gave me such a twitch by the beard.
I can remember no such thing, my friend.
Oh, no, sir, but if you had the beard, you would.
What place is this? How far am I from court?
Some 2 miles and away bit, sir.
I wonder how much my friend. How my friends have left me thus. Peasant, I pray thee change apparel with me.
Change apparel. In faith, you will lose by that, sir.
I care not. Come, I pray thee, let's change.
With all my heart, sir. I thank you. To Splud, you are very moist, sir. Did you sweat all this? You have not the disease, I hope?
No, I warrant thee.
Oh, at a venture, I'll change. Nothing venter, nothing enter.
Come, let's be gone.
Back, sir, I pray.
Again, fun little scene. I'm liking the peasant more and more. I like the back and forth between Motto and random additional character who's there just to do the back and forth. I just like the fact you were supposed to keep hold of him. Well, I didn't drop him in the river.
You were nearest.
Next to him.
I do love Albadura's line. How am I thus all wet? I mean, it reminds me of the bit in Abigail's Party when the person comes back from next door and he's wet and he never explains. He's just wet. And Albadura's just going, what? But he gives him a reason to change his clothes, which is always good.
Very good.
Also, it seems to have cured his madness.
Apparently.
I mean, he can't remember what happened during his madness, but the sudden shock of the going in the river seems to have done the trick.
Crossing waters always dispels magic, doesn't it? Any other thoughts?
The madness was framed as flames, that they felt like he's on fire and then dunk him in the river. But yeah, it's hilarious that the the two servant characters are arguing about whose fault this is, and then they're like, they both leave him there soaking wet on the ground, almost drowned. For all they know, he's still having a psychotic episode, and they're like, well, I'll go tell the Duke, well, I'll go tell, and off they go and leave him there. Okay.
Yes, other thoughts? No, it's a fun little scene. I think we don't need to say any more about it. Let's move on to Act 4, Scene 2. Enter Hardenberg with a guard, bringing in Casimir, Flores, Doctor, Merchant, Cornelia, Motho, and Rafe.
Thus, Flores, you apparently perceive how vain was your ambition, and what dangers, all unexpected, fall upon your head. Poverty, exile, guiltiness of heart, and endless misery to you and yours. Your goods are seized already for the Duke, and if Prince Albador can be found deceased, the least thou canst expect is banishment. Earl Casimir, I take your word of pledge of his appearance. Pages of the prince, come guide me where his drowned body lies, drowns his father in eternal tears.
And exit Albadura.
Drowns him and will hang us.
Signor Flores, I am sorry for you.
Ma son, parlez-vous bon? Begars, me vos grand love, me bear the good marchand, for the grand work, begars, and the grand desert me see in you. The brave marchand, me non point ravel. You have Cornelia alone by my trot.
Master Dr. Doddy, surnamed the Amorist, I will overcome you in courtesy. Yourself shall have her.
No, bagarre, marchand. You bring the fine things from the strange land where the sun rise. The jewel, the fine stuff for the brave girl. Me, no point. Come, bagarre. You have Cornelia.
Hands off, base doctor. She despiseth thee, too good for thee to touch or look upon.
Wretched state is this, Earl Casimir. I and my unhappy progeny stand subject to the scorns of such as these.
Grieve not, dear friends, these are but casual darts. That wanton fortune easily casts out those in whose true bosom's perfect honor grows. Now, Dodypoll, to you. You here refuse Cornelia's marriage. You'll none of her.
Bagarre, you be the prophet, not I, by my trot.
Nor you, master merchant. She's too poor for you.
Not so, sir, but yet I am content to let fall my suit.
Cornelia, both dissembled they would have you. Which like you best?
My lord, my fortunes are no choosers now, nor yet acceptors of discourtesies.
You must choose one, here needs.
Bagarre, no choose me. Me climb to heaven, me sink to hell. Me go here, me go there. Me no point here, bagarre.
If you will none, whose judgments are too base to censure true desert, your betters will.
What means Lord Casimir by these strange words?
I mean to take Cornelia to my wife.
Will you then, in my misery, mock me too?
I mock my friend in misery. Heaven scorns such. Half my estate and half my life is thine. The rest shall be Cornelia's and mine.
Oh, bitter shame, begar.
My lord, I know your noble love to me, and do so highly your desert's esteem, that I will never yield to such a match. Choose you a beauteous dame of high degree, and leave Cornelia to my fate and me.
Ah, Flores, Flores, were I not assured both of thy nobleness, thy birth and merit, yet my affection vowed with friendship's tongue, in spite of all base change of the world, that tread on noblest head once stoop to fortune, should love and grace thee to my utmost power. Cornelia is my wife. What says my love? Cannot thy father's friend entreat so much?
My humble mind can ne'er presume to dream in such high grace to my low seat.
My graces are not ordered in my words. Come, love, come, friend. For friendship now and love shall both be joined in one eternal league.
Oh me, yet happy and so true a friend.
And they exit, leaving the doctor and the merchant.
It's possible, by God. The fool drink my powder, I think. Merchant, tell me.
What, Master Dr. Doddy?
Have you the blue and the yellow velvet, huh?
What of that, sir?
Bagar, me buy two. 3 piece. For make the coxcomb pot a full air.
And exit doctor.
Fortune fights low when such triumph on earls.
And exit end scene. Anyone confused by the motivations of what's going on in this scene?
Nope.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Helen isn't. Helen isn't. So we'll go with Helen first. What's going on here?
Well, the Flores has been disgraced and is entirely without means. From having been a very rich jeweler, he is now a person without money and who is in danger of all sorts of punishments, especially if the prince is discovered to be dead.
Ah, right. Okay. Understand the scene now. Yeah, that all makes sense.
Consequently, the merchant and the doctor have withdrawn their suits.
Yeah. That's what I didn't understand. I didn't know what their motivation was for their sudden change. Lois.
I think the other thing is that we hear in the first scene, or early on anyway, that Casimir had an incredibly high opinion of Flores. And I think this is where he's showing it now, that he'll, a high opinion of friendship. So he's going to marry the daughter that nobody wants.
Yes, Eric.
Was just wondering, it says like that Albador stays on stage, but then like he's already changed clothes. So what's going on here? Like, is he just like part of the background, or is that like stage direction mistaken?
There's a lot about that stage direction. It sort of exits with servants, and I'm sort of going, well, they seem to still be on stage, so I don't quite understand what was going on with any of that.
Yeah, could be exit Albadure, man at service.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man service.
That would make more sense.
Yeah.
But that would so it looks like there's been something swapped around. Sarah, I saw a hand.
Well, yeah, I was just following up on what Lois said, because I couldn't understand. Like, I was thinking, hang on, did he, as in Casimir, did he show any symptom of love for Cornelia earlier on in the play? I don't remember him doing so. But then Lois has just explained it. He's not actually, the genuine love he feels isn't for her, it's for the friendship for the father. So, okay, that explains that. Thank you.
Yes, and Cornelia, in this most important moment of her life, gets 4 lines.
So
4 lines for Cornelia there.
Yeah, and we did float the possibility yesterday that the rivalry over Cornelia was the fact that she was the elder daughter of a wealthy tradesman. They don't say that explicitly, but you could drop in a word or two, or you could signal that Cornelia's appeal is that she stands to inherit her father's fortune.
Because we were talking about the doctor being a bit of a lech earlier, and but that completely reframes what might have been going on there. Lois.
Now, this is just an extra point, but I was fascinated by that bit at the very end about blue and yellow velvet for making a coxcomb, because I didn't know that those were the standard colors for coxcombs. A very interesting piece of evidence.
There is a picture of a fool wearing blue and yellow, I'm sure. Those patches.
Excellent exit gag from the doctor there. Other thoughts before we move on? No. Okay. Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Lassenberg singing. I don't know whether that's incorporated in the dialogue or a separate song. No, it's a separate song. Stage direction literally says so. Enter El Eisenberg singing Lucilia, following after the song he speaks.
Oh, weary of the way and of my life, where shall I rest my sorrow-tired limbs?
Rest in my bosom, rest you here, my lord. A place securer you can nowhere find.
Nor more unfit for my displeased mind. A heavy slumber calls me to the earth. Here will I sleep, if sleep will harbor here.
Unhealthful is the melancholic earth. Oh, let my lord rest on Lucilia's lap. I'll help to shield you from the searching air and keep the cold damps from your gentle blood.
Pray thee away, for whilst thou art so near, no sleep will seize on my suspicious eyes.
Sleep then, and I am pleased far off to sit like a poor and forlorn sentinel, watching the unthankful sleep that severs me from my due part of rest, dear love, with thee.
She sits far off from him. Enter Constantine, Duchess Catherine with a willow garland come Alice.
Now are we near the court of Saxony, where the Duke dreams such tragical ostents.
I wonder we, now treading on his soil, see none of his strange apparitions.
We are not worthy of such means divine, nor hath heaven care of our poor lives like his. I must endure the end and show I live, though this same plaintive wreath doth show me forsaken. Come, let us forth.
Stay, sister. What fair sight sits mourning in this desolate abode?
Fair sight indeed it is, and much too fair to sit so sad and solitary here.
What is he that cur-like sleeps alone?
Look, is it not my nephew, Lassenberg?
Madam, 'tis he.
Oh, she'll learn more of this. Lady, if strangers that do wish you well may be so bold to ask, pray, what's the cause that you so more than strangely sit alone?
Madam, this much forsaken creatures sit, whose merits cannot make their loves consort them.
What a poor fellow in my misery! Welcome, sweet partner, and of favour tell me, is this some friend of yours that slumbers here?
My husband, madam, and myself his friend, but he of late unfriendly is to me.
Sister, let's wake her friend.
No, let him sleep. And, gentle dame, if you will be ruled by me, I'll teach you how to rule your friend in love. No doubt you are acquaintance, for the man whom you so much affect is friend to us.
And she riseth.
Pardon, madam, now I know your grace.
Then knowst thou one in fortune like thyself, and one that tenders thy state as her own. Come, let our nephew Lassenberg sleep there, and gentle niece, come you to court with us. If you dare mix your love's success with mine, I warrant you I counsel for the best.
I must not leave him now, madam, alone, whom thus long I have followed with such care.
You weary him with too much courtesy. Leave him a little, and he'll follow you.
I know not what to do.
Come with us.
Dame, never fear. Get you a willow wreath. The Duchess, doubt not, can advise you well.
Let's wake him then, and let him go with us.
That's not so good. I pray, be ruled by me.
Sleep then, dear love, and let sleep that doth bind thy sense so gently make thee more kind.
And they exit. Enter Hans in the prince's apparel and the peasant.
Come, sirrah, money for your gentleman's apparel? You promised me money, sir. I perceive you forget yourself.
True, pride makes a man forget himself, and I have quite forgot that I owe thee any.
Well, I'll put you in mind, sir, if there be any sergeants in Saxony. I think I mean not to lose so much by you.
Why, I have lost a master and a mistress, and yet I ask thee no money for them.
I bought them not of you, sir. Therefore pay me my money.
I will pay thee morningly every morning as long as thou livest. Look in thy right shoe, and thou shalt find sixpence.
What? Foul knave and fairy? Well, use thy conscience. I thank God I stand in need of no such trifles. I have another jewel here, which I found in the prince's pocket when I changed apparel with him. That will I make money of, and go to the jeweller that bought the cup of me. Farewell. If God put in thy mind to pay me, so. If not, so.
And exit the peasant.
Brave, free-hearted slave, he has the lask of mind upon him.
What speech is this that interrupts my rest? Who have we here?
Sometime a serving man, and so were ye, both now jolly gentlemen, you see.
Oh, what, sir? How came you thus gallant, I beseech you?
I turned the spit in fortune's wheel, sir.
But stay, where is Lucilia?
Marry, where say you, sir?
Villain, look for her. Call her, seek her out. Lucilia! Where's my love? Oh, where's Lucilia? I fear my barbarous rudeness to her hath driven her to some desperate exigent. Who would have tempted her true love so far? The gentlest minds, with injuries overcome, grow most impatient. Oh, Lucilia, thy absence strikes a loving fear in me, which, from what cause soever it proceeds, would God I had been kinder to thy love.
Enter Hardenberg with a guard, motto Rafe.
Slaves, can ye not direct us to the place?
Muted. Yes, sir, here's the place we left him in.
I see, my lord. Here's one wears his apparel.
Where's he? Say, Sirrah, what are you that jet thus in the garments of the prince?
Bought and sold, sir, in the open market, sir. Ask my master.
Earl Lassenberg, where's the prince's body?
Why ask you me, my lord?
Since you are in the place where he was drowned, and this your hind here hath his garments on.
Inquire of him, then.
I'll inquire of you, and of your gallant too. Guard, apprehend them, and bring them presently.
What means Lord Hardenberg to entreat me thus?
That you shall
And they exit. Lots of stuff going on there. You know, get away from him. Just don't wake him up. Just leave him. Treat him mean. Keep him keen. And lo and behold, he only has to wake up, and she's not there. And suddenly, oh. What an arse. Okay.
He deserves everything that happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lots of things going on in that scene. So we had the Lassenberg stuff. Then we get the reintroduction of Catherine. We haven't heard a lot from Catherine since the first half. I don't know how much she said, Helen. You were reading Catherine yesterday.
Was I? Oh, yes, I was. Yes. Well, she had one or two speeches. I mean, she wasn't totally silent. And she was saying her own mind. She was saying, well, I'm not going to chase him. I'm going to make sure he knows I still exist. But despite the fact that we're supposed to be getting married, I am not going to chase him. And he was sending they're referring back to the excuses in that little chat with the ambassador at the beginning. They're joking because he'd made all these excuses for not coming to see Catherine because he'd seen these strange apparitions. It was very much a dog ate my homework excuse. and they're mocking it now. We're treading on his soil and we don't see these apparitions.
Yeah, because I really liked Catherine in this scene. She's just, just come with me. Just don't, just leave him. Leave it. He's not worth it. Just come on.
Guided by me, you'll be fine. Come on, that's all right. Leave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's standard advice for a woman who wants to attract a man: run away slowly.
Let him do the chasing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also that wonderful thing in that era as well, which you do get in some other plays, where you see the older woman who basically says, "Look, I know how to handle men. Trust me, it'll be fine." You know.
And then in the middle we have some clothes swapping, non-money paying action as well. Alan.
Yeah, I was confused because the stage direction said that Haunts was wearing the prince's apparel.
Yes.
But in the previous sequence, the peasant and the prince had exchanged clothing.
Yes, the peasants now sold it onto Hans.
Which must have happened off stage because
Yes.
it's not actually mentioned.
Yeah. So,
And
and he hasn't been paid.
Hans is being accused of theft, and he gives a totally legalistic argument. Bought and sold, sir, in the open market. Because if you buy something in market ouvert, even if it was stolen goods, you get good title.
It's a nominal and specific breach of the law.
Well, no, it's a solid. It's a defence in law.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Other thoughts about the scene overall?
Yeah, and maybe we should remember that the peasant says he has a ring he found in the pocket that he held back when they exchanged clothes. So that might be a gun on the mantle that we need to remember is there.
Ah, yes. Chekhov's gun, or Marlowe's spit, as it's otherwise known.
But
you'll be able to hear about that on the podcast in a few weeks' time. There will be a context as to why I just said that. Anyway. Any other thoughts before we finish the act? Helen?
He's taking the jewel that he found in the pocket to Florio, presumably not realising that Florio is no longer in a position to pay him for it.
Well, the news service in the woods, there's no Wi-Fi connection, so he's not going to see anything on his phone to know where he's at. Other thoughts? Eric?
Why are the women just like wandering about the woods at night? Is it just like sort of an evening stroll, or is it just? I mean, is this deep in the woods, or is this like sort of just
2 miles, half an hour?
Yeah, but that's quite. I mean, if it's dark and it's 2 miles away, it's like still quite.
We don't know if it's dark, to be fair.
Oh yeah,
unless there's an indicator that I missed.
Are you talking about Catherine? Because
Yeah.
she's on a journey.
Yeah.
At the beginning of in 3433 where we started today, the peasant says it's night and I've lost my way. So if it's still night, then it is dark. I
don't know what the passage of time here is. I mean, that's the thing. It could be 12 hours has passed and it's now morning. Maybe not. Anyone else got any thoughts on time signatures? Yes, Alan.
I think the answer to Eric's question is because.
That seems to be the answer to a lot of the questions of this play. They're not always satisfying answers, but sometimes you just have to go with it. Roll with the play, roll with it. Okay, let's finish the act. Act 4, Scene 4. Enter Leander and Hyanthe. No one owning up to be Leander.
No, that was me. Sorry, I was muted again. Oh, madam, never were our tears bestowed of one whose death was worthier to be moaned. Dear Albadore, why parted I from thee, and did not like the faithful Pylades attend my dear Orestes in his rage?
Oh, my sweet love! Oh, princely Albadure! Would God the river where thy corse lay drowned were double deep in me and turned to tears, that it might be consumed for swallowing thee.
Enter Albadure with a basket of apricots disguised.
In this disguise, I'll secretly inquire why I was so forsaken of my friend and left to danger of my lunacy. Here is the man that I most blame for this, whose vowed friendship promised greater care. But he, it seems, enamored of my love, was glad of that occasion, and I fear hath turned her womanish conceit from me. I'll prove them both. Master, wilt thou buy a basket of well-ripe apricots?
I pray thee keep thy dainties. I am full of bitter sorrows as my heart can hold.
It may be, master, your fair lady will.
No, friend. My stomach is more full than his.
Where dwellest thou, friend?
Not far from hence, my lord.
Then thou knowest well which was the fatal stream wherein the young Prince Albadure was drowned.
I know not he was drowned, but oft have seen the piteous manner of his lunacy, in depth whereof he still would echo forth a lady's name that I have often heard, beauteous Hyanthe, but in such sad sort as if his frenzy felt some secret touch of her unkindness and inconstancy, and when his passions were somewhat appeased, affording him, it seemed, some truer sense, of his estate left in his fits alone, then he would wring his hands, extremely weeping, exclaiming on the name of one Leander, calling him traitor and unworthy friend, so to forsake him in his misery.
Cursed eye! Oh, thou hast moved me more than if 1,000 showers of venom darts with several pains at once had pricked my soul.
Oh, thou ordain to bear swords in thy tongue. Dead thou hast struck me, and I live no more.
It seems your honours loved him tenderly.
Oh, my good friend, knewest thou how dear I loved him?
Nay, knewest thou, honest friend, how dear I loved him?
I see then you would rejoice at his health.
As at my life were it revived from death.
As at my soul were it preserved from death.
Be then from death and hell recovered both, as I am now by your firm loves to me. Admire me not. I am that Albadure whom you thought drowned. That friend, that love am I.
Pardon, sweet friend!
Pardon, my princely love!
Dear love, no further gratulations now, lest I be seen and known. But, sweet Leander, do conceal me in thy father's house, that I may now remain with my Hyanthe, and at our pleasures safely enjoy each other's love.
I will, dear friend, and bless my happy stars that give me means to so desired a deed.
It's many a time I go into my local coffee shop and I ask for an apricot croissant. It's one of those lovely early modern things that we have variously popping up. It turns up in Duchess of Malfi as well, and others. Always fun. So yeah, it's the thing is, you know, sometimes we criticize people turning up in disguise and asking the person on stage about themselves. You know, would you be able to resist it if you had the chance? Would you really? Would you really ask yourself that?
Dangerous. You
It
never
is.
hear good of yourself.
So, thoughts about this little scene, Sarah?
It's particularly shitty to do it, though, when the people that you're accosting are actually mourning for you. I mean, that is quite twisted. Like,
yeah, but you know, if you'd faked your own death, wouldn't you, go for that?
No.
Lynn.
This scene is kind of mercifully brief. He doesn't drag it on. He doesn't.
No, true.
Do you really love him? Is there anything going on between you guys? He doesn't. He doesn't make this sort of that painful, long reveal. They both say, "Oh, we're so sad. Oh, sounds like you really cared about him. Oh, yes, we really did. Oh, yes, we really did. What if he were well? Oh, I'd be so happy. Oh my God, I'd be so happy. Okay, here I
Ta-da!
Lois.
What's weird, though, is that as far as I can see, he was never jealous of the two of them before. I mean, he walks on stage and suddenly goes jealous. It suggests to me that his insanity hasn't exactly disappeared.
Maybe it's to answer the audience's question in their mind about that, because they've had a lot of on-stage time together of those two, and maybe it's just to answer that unasked question, or maybe it was just a good way of constructing the scene, because Helen.
Albadure seems to have recovered a great deal of memory of his insanity.
Maybe he's asked around.
Oh, could be.
Mm. Maybe he's made some stuff up, Yeah, if you would never. When I went mad, you wouldn't believe the things I did. Oh, yeah. I was a terror when I was mad. Any other thoughts before we move into Act 5? No enchant. The enchanter has not returned. You don't want anyone missing the enchanter. No. Looks like we're out of the woods and back in the court, I suggest, for the rest of the play. I could be wrong on that front. Let us see where we are. Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Casimir, Flores with the cup, peasant stood about, and the merchant.
See, Signor Flores, a peasant that I met with near your house, where, since he found you not, he asked of me the place of your abode, and here I have brought him.
Thank you, sir. My good Lord Casimir, this is the man that brought this cup to me, which for my ransom we go now to offer to my good lord the Duke.
What brings he now?
That will we know. Come hither, honest friend. What wished occasion brings thee now to me?
This occasion, sir? What will you give me for it?
Thou art a lucky fellow. Let us see. Oh, Casimir, this is the hapless jewel that represents the form of Albadure, given by Cornelia at our fatal feast. Where hadst thou this, my good and happy friend?
Oh, faith, sir, I met with the young prince, all wet, who looked as if he'd been a quarter of a year drowned, yet he prettily came to himself, saving that he was so mad to change apparel with me. In the pocket whereof, sir, I found this jewel.
Oh, tell me truly, lives Prince Albadure?
Well, he lives, some a word, sir, very poorly now, God help him.
Is he recovered of his lunacy?
Aye, by my faith, he's tame enough now, I'll warrant him.
And where is he?
Nay, that I cannot tell.
Come, Flores, haste we quickly to the court with this most happy news.
Come, happy friend, this most auspicious messenger to me that ever greeted me in peasant's weeds.
And they exit and enter the doctor to, looks like just the merchant.
I would I could meet Master Doctor Doddy. I have a trick to gull the ass withal. I christened him right, Doctor Dodipoll. Here he comes, passing luckily. I'll counterfeit business with him, in all post haste possible. Master Doctor, Master Doctor!
Shizu, what ailed thee, man?
I love you, Master Doctor, and therefore with all the speed I could possibly, I sought you out.
Well, what?
This, sir, the marriage which we thought made even now between Earl Casimir and Cornelia was but a jest only, to draw you to marry her, for she doth exceedingly dote upon you. And Flores, her father, hath invented that you are betrothed to her, and is gone with a supplication to the Duke to enforce you to marry her.
Egad, me thought no less. Oh, knave jeweler, oh, vile beggar, by my truck marchand, me study, me beat me brain, me invent, me dream upon such a thing.
I knew, sir, your wit would foresee it.
Oh, by God, 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Well, sir, you have a perilous wit. God bless me out of the swing of it. But you had best look to it betimes, for Earl Casimir hath made great friends against you.
Marchand, me love, me embrace, me kiss you, will be my trot.
Well, sir, make haste to prevent the worst.
A fly, machin, spit the air, spit the wench, spit all bigger. See this machin, the brave brain, bigger.
And the Doctor exits.
De brave brain, bigger. Not a whit of the flower of wit in it. I'll to the court after him and see how he abuses the Duke's patience.
And exits the merchant. End of that scene. Short scene. It's sort of setting up action for the close of the play, as in the final scene of which is coming next. Various things are set up or tidied up. Yes, we get the Flores learns of the survival of Prince Albadura from the ring, from the peasant. Etc., that built the house that Jack built or whatever. Yes, and the merchant has set up the Doctor to do some comedy business. Any thoughts on that before we move on? Eric?
I find it interesting that they're not suspicious of the peasant having drowned the prince, but somehow they're suspicious of Hans and the other guys. I mean, obviously, there must be some sort of precedent to their behavior for them not to believe that they've not done it, basically.
I think they've just met Hans and the other chap, who clearly couldn't organise a drinking festival in a place of brewing. The peasant does come across as competent.
And transparently honest.
Yeah. He's currently my only favourite, my only male character that I like in the entire play.
I'm only an honest yokel, sir.
Yeah.
Touch me cap, sir.
Yeah, but he's not a great cap toucher. You know, I met the young prince, all wet.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so direct, and if he doesn't know something, he says.
There's no side to this peasant at all.
None.
Any other thoughts before we go into the final scene, the epic conclusion to Doctor Dodipoll?
I was certain at one point that the Doctor was about to speak of his little grey cells.
Yes, so when he's talking about his head, his brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said that in the chat, didn't I? So yeah.
Oh Lord, did you? Sorry.
Yeah, a bit of Poirot.
Yes. I said there are elements of Poirot, David Suchet's Poirot, in there particularly, and there's the example of the little grey cells.
Yes.
I don't think I trust Dr. Dodypoll to investigate any murder, though. Ever.
No.
Sorry, Lynn.
I just kind of find the merchant's decision to just sort of out of spite prank the Doctor about their former rivalry. I find it so unnecessary. I thought we'd already resolved that. Can we just resolve that and not have that further complication? I'm kind of not feeling it.
Well, maybe it's just to make the final scene sing, maybe it needs that. And, it just speaks to their character. They've been getting at each other throughout the whole play in one way or another. But maybe it's a step too far. We will find out as we go into the final thrilling conclusion of Dr. Dodipoll. Act 5, Scene 2. Enter Alfonso, Hardenberg, Lassenberg, Leander, Hushman, Motto, and Rafe.
Ay me! What hard extremity is this? Nor quick nor dead can I behold my son.
Enter Hans in the prince's apparel.
Behold, your son, your blessing, noble father.
Malapert knave, art thou the prince's son?
Aye, sir, apparel makes the man.
Unhappy man. Would God I had my son, so he had his Hyanthe, or my life.
Should he enjoy Hyanthe then, my lord? Would you forsake your love, so he did live?
My love and life did my dear son survive.
But were he found, or should he live, my lord,
although Hyanthe's love were the chief cause of his mishap and amorous lunacy, I hope your highness loves him over well to let him repossess his wits with her.
My love is dead in sorrow for his death. His life and wits should ransom worlds from me.
My lord, I had a vision this last night, wherein methought I saw the prince, your son, sit in my father's garden with Hyanthe under the shadow of the laurel tree. With anger, therefore, you should be so wronged, I waked, but then condemned it as a dream. Yet, since my mind beats on it mightily, and though I think it vain, if you vouchsafe, I'll make a trial of the truth hereof.
And exit.
Do, good Leander. Hardenberg, your son perhaps deludes me with a vision, to mock my vision that deferred the Duchess, and with Hyanthe closely keeps my son.
Son was mad and drowned. This cannot be.
But yes, this circumventing speech of his offered suspicion of such an event.
Oh, my lord, most fortunate were that event that would restore your son from death to life.
As though a vision should do such a deed.
No, no. The boy's young brain was humorous. His servant and his page did see him drown.
Enter Leander, Albadura, Hyanthe, Albadura, seeming fearful to come forward.
Come on, sweet friend, I warrant thee thy love. Shun not thy father's sight that longs for thee.
Then before, and we will follow straight.
Comfort, my lord! My vision proved most true. Even in the place under the laurel shade, I found them sitting just as I beheld them in my late vision. See, sir, where they come!
Am I enchanted, or see I my son? Aye, the boy hath played the traitor with me. Oh, you young villain, trust you with my love. How smooth the cunning creature looked on it.
But Sirrah, can this be?
You knew him to be mad. These thought him drowned. My lord, take you no more delight to see your son recovered of his life and wits?
See how boldly the young politician can urge his practice. Sirrah, you shall know I'll not be overreached with your young brain. All have agreed, I see, to cousin me, but all shall fail. Come, lady, I will have you, spite of all. And son, learn you hereafter to use more reverend means to obtain of me what you desire. I have no joy to see thee raised from a deluding death.
My lord, 'tis tyranny to enforce my love.
I hope your highness will maintain your word.
Dost thou speak, traitor? Straight I'll have you safe for daring to delude me in my love.
O friend, thou hast betrayed my love in vain. Now am I worse than now am I worse than either mad or drowned? Now have I only wits to know my griefs and life to feel them.
Let me go to him.
Thou shalt not have thy will, nor be his love. Neither of both know what is fit for you. I love with judgment and upon cold blood. He with youth's fury, without reason's stay. And this shall time and my kind usage of thee make thee discern. Meantime, consider this, that I neglect for thee a beauteous duchess, who next to thee is fairest in the world.
Enter messenger.
My lord, the Duke of Brunswick and his sister, the beauteous Duchess, are arrived here.
What's that? The Duchess?
Even her grace, my lord.
Why, Hardenberg, ha! Is the Duchess come?
No, not my good lord. Where is the Duchess?
Hard by, my lord.
Swoons, I'm not here. Go tell her so, or let her come. My choice is free in love. Come, my Hyanthe, stand thou close to me.
My lord, the Duke himself has come to urge your promise to him. which you must not break.
Oh, nor will you wish to break it, my good my lord. I am assured when you shall see the Duchess, whose matchless beauties will renew the mind of her rare entertainment, and her presence put all new thoughts of love out of your mind.
Well, I do see 'tis best, my sweet Ianthe, that thou stand further.
I'll be gone, my lord.
Not gone, but mix thyself among the rest. What a spite is this? Counsel me, Hardenberg.
Duchess comes, my lord.
Out of my life. How shall I look on her?
And here we have an entrance of many people, meaning the doubling will probably slightly fall apart in the sense there will definitely be some people who are talking to themselves in the same room. I will be taking on Flores for the rest of the scene because I think there is at least one point where they speak at the same time as the person they are doubling with. Enter Constantine, Catherine, Lassenberg, Luciana, Casimir, Cornelia. There's a song. There's a song.
Another song.
Because, and after the song, the Duchess speaks.
How now, my lord? You look as one dismayed. Have any visions troubled you of late?
Your Grace and your most princely brother here are highly welcome to the Saxon court.
Oh, you dissemble, sir, nor are we come in hope of welcome, but with this poor headpiece to bear the brunt of all discourtesies.
My lord, we come not now to urge the marriage you sought with such hot suit of my fair sister, but to resolve ourselves and all the world, while you retain such mean conceit of us, to slight so solemn and so high a contract with vain pretext of visions or of dreams.
My lord, I protest by earth and heaven, I hold your state right highly and renowned, and your fair sister's beauties and deserts to be most worthy the greatest king alive. Only an ominous vision troubled me, and hindered the wished speed I would have made, not to dissolve it, though it were deferred, by such portents as, least you think I feign, Lord Hardenberg can witness is most true.
Most true, my lord, and most prodigious.
Yet I'll condemn them with my life and all, ere I offend your grace or breed suspect of my firm faith in my most honoured love.
No, no, my lord, this is your vision that hath not frighted but enarmoured you.
Oh, madam, think you so? By heaven I swear, she's my son's love. Sirrah, take her to you. Have I had all this care to do her grace, to prove her virtues and her love to thee? And standst thou fearful now? Take her, I say.
My lord, he fears you will be angry with him.
You play the villain. Wherefore should he fear? Only proved her virtues for his sake. And now you talk of anger? Ay me, wretch, that ever I should live to be thus shamed.
Madam, I swear the lady is my love. Therefore your highness cannot charge my father with any wrong to your high worth in her.
Sister, you see we utterly mistake the kind and princely dealing of the Duke. Therefore, without more ceremonious doubts, let's reconfirm the contract and his love.
I warrant you, my lord, the Duke dissembles.
Here on my knees, at the altar of those feet, I offer up in pure and sacred breath the true speech of my heart, and heart itself require no more, if thou be princely born, and not of rocks and ruthless tigers bred.
My lord, I kindly cry you mercy now, ashamed that you should injure your estate to kneel to me, and vow before these lords to make you all amends you can desire.
Oh, Madam, in admiration of your grace and princely wisdom, and to gratify the long-wished joy done to my lord the Duke, I here present your highness with this cup, wrought admirably by the spirits of substance fair, more rich than earthly gems, whose value no man's judgment can esteem.
Flores, I'll interrupt the Duchess, thanks. And for the present thou hast given to her, to strengthen her consent to my desires, I recompense thee with a free release, of all offences twixt thyself and me.
I humbly thank your excellence.
But where is now unkind Earl Lassingburg, that injures his fair love and makes her wear this worthless garland? Come, sir, make amends, or we will here award you worthy penance.
Madam, since her departure, I have done more hearty penance than her heart could wish, and vow hereafter to live ever hers.
Then let us cast aside these forlorn wreaths, and with our better fortunes change our habits.
Enter Doctor in post, the merchant following him.
Oh, stay, my lord. Me pray you on knees, once stay.
What's the matter, Doctor?
Me breath be gone for haste.
What ails the hasty doctor?
My lord, begone. He lies falsely in his throat. Me prove by the deal that he be the false knave.
Who is it, man, with whom thou art so bold?
My lord, if me make my contract of marriage, if me be not so loose as the wide world, if me do not allege.
I pray thee, man, what meanest thou?
Bagar, inform your grace what he dare. I will prove by good argument and raison that he is the first beggarly juwelier, that I no point marry Cornelia. That say you now.
My lord, no doubt some man hath gulled the doctors, supposing he should be enforced to wed her that is my wife and ever scorned him.
That you say? The marchand tell me I marry Cornelia. Spit my nose.
The merchant, I perceive, hath trimmed you, Doctor, and combed you smoothly. Faith, I can him thank, that thus revives our meeting with such mirth.
Oh, be brat de heaven! Est ce possible? And by heaven, I'll be revenged that val marchand. Me make the medicine dry up the sea. 7,000 million distol 500 dram Pfeffian, Marguerite, Belestier, Hémétède, Cardamedian, Cherchachel, Pantasat, Petrophidium, Henap and Bagar, Dehot, Pepper. Me make the wind, the greasy colic puff, blow, Bagar, tear the sail, beat the mast, crack the ship in thousand pieces.
Exit Doctor.
Farewell, gentle Doctor Dodipoll. And now, dear lady, let us celebrate our happy royal nuptials, and my sons, with this our sweet and general amity, which heaven smile on with his golden eye.
And it ends. So, yeah, there's some interesting backpedaling. I think the return of Hardenberg was very much enjoyed. Alfonso's routine with him continuing of, is the Duchess come? And Hardenberg clearly has not been paying attention, has he? You just go, oh, I don't know. Is Duchess here? What? Oh, no, here she comes. So he's delightfully useless still. I like Hardenberg. Alfonso being still a bit of a, I only proved her virtues for his sake. Yeah, Alfonso. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
But everybody gets married to the correct person in the end, and I'm sure it'll be great. These marriages are going to be superb.
Yeah.
Happily ever after.
Yeah. Not buying expensive wedding gifts for them. Really not. Lois.
Yeah, Dr. Dodypoll's final speech, I think, might have been written for an actor who said he could memorize anything. What happened with Macklin in the 18th century, that whole grand panjandrum thing that sometimes turns up in children's books. Apparently, I think it was Samuel Foote who wrote that because Macklin had said he could memorize anything.
Ah, I did not know that.
Mm. Yeah, Alan.
I think at this point you would have had to lend Dodypoll your teddy bear because it would definitely be leaving the pram.
Yeah, he's not a happy bunny. I think it'd be fair to say he's been treated very badly by the merchant there. So yeah, it's that was the tying up of all the loose ends. All loose ends are tied, unless anyone's. Have we missed any? I think they're all there.
Fairies?
Fairies are still doing fairy things. That's what fairies do.
Yep, still causing trouble.
Fairies don't need resolution. That's not what they need.
Is it Leander? He's sort of a loose. They haven't found him another sister, have they? No.
Well, to be honest, if this was a rom-com from the 80s, then he'd be the gay best friend, wouldn't he?
Of course he would.
It's that kind of role.
He's totally sassy gay friend.
So
yeah.
Okay. Any other final thoughts about that scene before we sort of move on to? I've got various things I want to talk about the play itself. Helen.
Yeah, the guys, Constantine and Catherine, are really, really being as nasty as they can within the bounds of politeness. Sister, you see, we utterly mistake the kind and princely dealing of the Duke. You know, I mean, it is amazing how you know, have you had any more visions, perhaps? It's amazing just how nasty they are being while maintaining the veneer of courtly politeness.
Yes, it's passive-aggressive abuse on a grand scale, and you know, entirely deserved. Frankly, I mean, considering the message that they sent, you know, earlier, you know, they have his number. They have his number. Lois.
Yeah. Actually, I think that their behavior might be more just noblesse oblige, I don't know, the grand style. They seem to be the figures from outside who kind of come in to resolve everything. I was going to add just to what we were saying about Leander. I think he's partly there to make Alberdur look like an absolute idiot. I mean, you know, he's still not coming forth. He's too scared to speak to his father, and then he's mad at Leander for trying to maneuver the situation. Yeah, it's very odd. I have a feeling we're supposed to know something else about Leander that we don't know, that's sort of hinted at in the things they say about him.
Other thoughts before we go to Eric?
Yeah, but also you kind of get the impression that like Alberdur was right to be not afraid, but like sort of like treat his father with trepidation, because like he's ready to sort of throw him in jail and, you know, steal his Hyanthe basically. So it's like okay, what just happened there?
Yeah, it is quite a nicely structured scene with, you know, I am revealed our father, and then he just goes, no, I am having her, that's mine, and this is thing, and then it's only when the messenger arrives that everything then unravels in quite a satisfying way. It's a really nicely shaped scene, actually.
Yeah. And I don't know how Catherine knows who Hyanthe is, but she actually does address her, doesn't she? She says, oh, this is what you've been interested in. And I think she even brings her out of the group because, yeah, that's right, because Alfonso has told her, just go mingle. And Catherine picks her out immediately. I don't know quite, maybe she's seen a portrait or something.
Yes. The more we talk, the more the plot holes just quietly filter through. And we create headcanon to try and make it fit. Alan, did you wave earlier?
Yes, I was just wondering whether Leander is one of the few character names that has got resonances elsewhere, and I'm just wondering whether that's what we're supposed to be picking up on. But my knowledge of the myths of classical period are not good enough to remember what his attributes were.
Lynn?
Yes and no, Alan. Yes, he is a recognizable name from classic mythology, but it's actually a super unhelpful connection because Leander was a great lover who drowned in the Hellespont swimming to see his love. And Leander is not a lover in this. He's basically, he's the best friend. He's the loyal servant. There's nothing between him and Hyanthe, even though Albadur suspects that for a moment. So he is in no way like the Leander of legends. So
Fine.
yeah, super unhelpful naming choice there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're a little under on time, but that's fine. We'll start going around the room talking about the play overall, and thoughts about what we might do with it. I think with this one we have to imagine an unlimited budget, because I think it sort of does have some demands on resources. What we like, don't like, what we want to play around with, what we might do with it, and just what you thought of the play overall. Most of us have been here for both sessions, so we'll start with Sasha. Sasha, final thoughts.
Okay. It was very confusing in the beginning, but I found with this one today, there was a lot more satisfactory expansion of the plots, and there were some tying up of loose ends, especially with that last scene. I think what might happen if it was to be put on is we'd need to really thoroughly pull it to pieces, tidy it up in places, and I think it's one of those, if you need, you can't hold back with this play. If you put it on, you've got to have actors who are prepared and brave enough to go quite bold with it and actually have fun with it. It can't be for those who are little like mouse on stage, So I think physical theatre. I think a lot of interesting sort of fantasy stuff for the fairies. I'm imagining a lot of the fantasy stuff for the fairies, and it's one of those pieces you could either put into period if you really wanted to, or you could also put it into a modern context and it would still be very relevant, I think.
Sarah, final thoughts.
What would I do with it? Leave it in a drawer.
Oh.
Honestly, I was really enjoying it yesterday. I'm actually the opposite of Sasha because I was really enjoying it yesterday because I do like a mad play. And when I heard that there were going to be fairies, I was like, yes, because I do. All plays should have fairies as far as I'm concerned. But I'm like, I just don't like any of the characters. No, that's not true. The peasant, I'm endeared to the peasant. And Leander was like perfectly fine. But all the guys were such twats. And I'm like, and none of the women really got to say anything. Yes, Catherine she got the odd line, but she didn't really get a chance to expand. And I'm like, I really want to like it because it's full of the kind of stuff that I usually love. But by the end of it, I just didn't care. I just didn't care because they were all such arses. And I'm like, yeah, you go off and marry your lady loves. I don't care. I pity your lady loves, frankly. I will go off and find a cave in a green hill and open a shelter for when they've all realised what twats you are and they need to go and find somewhere else to go and live. Because they're just like, yeah. So yeah, I'd just leave it in a drawer. There are lots of other plays.
There are. I'm just going to say that there may be an element of, especially with a lot of films and plays, where if you actually sit down and analyse the play as you go along, like we have done here, you sort of dig into the general twattishness of people a lot more, and whether in the flow of it, and with real performers giving something, that the play might not be so in performance come across in quite that way. He said, desperately trying. Can you see the pedal going?
Yeah,
it's a noble paddle, and I'm sure you're right. I the number of conversations I've had with people who think that Heathcliff is a good guy who's just misunderstood. I am sure there are loads of people who would watch this and go, oh yeah, no, they're okay. But I am just not one of those people, sadly.
Elizabeth, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think what Sarah said is really telling. I found that yesterday we played Fell a Bit Flat, and then we had this comedy business with the Enchanter today, where the Enchanter and the Fairies, which I think lifted it a little bit. That Midsummer Night's Dream sort of thing. And it lifted it a little bit, but we didn't have that much of it. We had maybe 2 scenes, maybe 1 or 2 scenes of the fairies, and I would have liked a lot more. Then we called it a farce yesterday. We said that the definition was a farce. The genre of the play was a farce, but it doesn't really keep that up to the end. It starts to be about more serious things like the drowning of Albadura, which isn't such a farcical, but more of a tragedy. So I think yesterday fell a bit flat for me. Today it lifted it a little bit with the enchanting scenes, but overall I agree with Sarah that there are plays that we like a lot more that we could do.
Okay, Tamara, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite bits of the play are kind of the MacGuffins that just remind me of Tolkien. But that was actually, didn't we mention a Chekhovian gun that never got fired? Did that get fired?
It gets mentioned.
Yeah,
that's it basically. Yeah, it's an identification thing rather than an active prop.
And similarly to the second costume change that seems to just happen off stage, but at the same time there was lots of mute background acting that we suspected needed to happen in the first half yesterday. And I think the same thing's going to happen. The same thing happened this time. But aside from that, I think it's chaotic and great. I think it needs to move at breakneck speed so we don't get bogged down by potential misogyny and other things that are slightly problematic. But otherwise, you can make it fun.
Dan, you were not here for yesterday and you've been very quiet. Probably just sitting there, just terrified. So any final thoughts from you, Dan?
Okay, I can't say this was one of my favorite plays. I found myself more interested in trying to decipher the French. There, I did find it humorous, but I think probably only because I'm interested in that kind of thing. I was interested in the fact that the title character is speaking some sort of French that had to have been understood by the audience. And given that this was a children's, the Children of St. Paul, it just made me interested in what types of things that they were learning. Sorry, this has nothing to do with the actual play itself. But it did get me interested in the company itself and what types of plays are written for them and what types of performers they actually need to have. Also, I was interested in the fact that, it seemed like very much of an exercise of songs and choreography, but the fact that the stage directions were very explicit. Seemingly, I mean, generally, the theory is that more explicit stage directions means that they were probably authorial in a sense that, well, I'm going to write it this way and everybody better really follow it, even though nobody ever actually does there. So without any other insight into the actual play itself, I was much more interested in the textual matters of it.
Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would agree it's not top of the list for production. I do wonder how much of this is actually pastiching what else was going on in the London theatre at around about the same time. we picked up in the chat a number of cross-references to other pieces, which would probably attract the duck call, but it probably pastiches more widely than that as well.
Mm.
And I just wonder whether this is just the boys' company having a lot of fun with what was around in the air at the time.
There does seem to be something that the boys' company does a lot. I mean, whether it's doing it more than other companies as well. I mean, there's an awful lot of conversation between plays, and to a degree, it's difficult for us because we haven't really reached 1600, 1599 yet in our general survey of things. We haven't done that many plays from exactly this point. So it's harder to find that cross-referencing than, say, with some of the earlier stuff we've been doing, because we've got a greater mass. But I think it's a reasonable shout. They're very interested in pastiche and spoofing things, as we have discovered more than once. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an element of that in there.
And it reminded me in part of Beyond the Fringe, where you do a short skit, which is based on a bit of culture that everybody would have been aware of had they gone through a particular educational type background.
Not so sure on that. I mean, it seems too tied into itself. I mean, there are comedy skits, but they are still tied to plot most of the time, or reiterating plot. They're not completely random comedy skits. Like we had with Musidorus, there are one or two scenes which were just clearly clown business now for 5 minutes before we get back to other business. But maybe. Lois, final thoughts?
Yeah. On the whole, I think it could work in performance. I mean, it's quite a fast-moving thing. One would try to do justice to the songs, probably put in dances, fairy business, emphasize the prettiness of it. I'm sure there is a strong element of parody in it of a lot of other things. And one could, I suppose, parody things that the audience would recognize. And we know what sort of things those would be. Try to make it work that way. There are things, I mean, I think Dr. Dodipoll is actually one of the biggest problems. I think he's a complete pain, and his reappearance in that final scene with everybody saying, oh, well, this really added fun to things, which is just what it doesn't do, seems to me kind of a problem. But I'm sure that, comic foreigners, I suppose, are always funny in England, might be able to make something of it.
I think the unfortunate thing for Dr. Dodipoll in a cold read like this is it's very difficult to get across what the hell he's saying, whereas actually rehearsing it and making some decisions would probably solve a lot of those problems. And Stephen said the other day about the physicality of what he's doing as well. I think he is the loser of this process. So maybe he's hilarious in the right hands. Or maybe he's just tedious. I'm not going to fight that one too hard. Lynn, final thoughts?
Well, I would just echo what those just before me would say, that it's salvageable, but not my first choice kind of thing. It would require a very specific set of production circumstances. You would want to have a situation where you knew you were going to get more auditionees than you could cast because it's such a large cast. You would want a massive costume stock so that you could signal people's relationships and social status with clothes. And you have to have people who can sing and so forth. So maybe like a performing arts school might consider putting this on. And I think if I were handed this and told this is what you're directing or producing next term, I would say, okay, but we're going to do it a single gender cast with all girls, because we're going to create performance opportunities for people who are typically excluded, and the boys can work backstage, because the women's parts are so small. I would either do a lot of cross-gender casting or just say we're going to do that. The convention is going to be that the female actors play all the parts.
Mm-hmm. Helen, final thoughts?
I'm with Lois on the principal problem of this play is the good doctor. I mean, I said yesterday that what I would do is to translate him into English and then re-Frenchify him, re-joke him, so to speak. I don't really think that there's any way you can deal with all these bygars and the rest of it. I mean, having read him yesterday, I find him utterly impossible. He's the one thing that I think in this play doesn't work at all.
Okay, Eric, final thoughts.
I was going to say that, well, I'm kind of like between Sasha and Sarah's point of view, where like there are really some elements of it that are really problematic, but then I would love to see it like performed just to see what happens. If like actors collide or implode or something. Or maybe the director, I don't know. But sort of also what I realized that is it's called like the wisdom of Dr. Dodipoll, but it's not really. I mean, like, he's completely like, well, not the village idiot, but he's sort of like, I don't know, not the most intelligent doctor in town. And also he kind of like, as Helen just said, like it's important to sort of ensure that he's understood. Yeah,
it's like the title's like the poetry Richard M. Nixon or something of that sort. Yeah.
Stephen, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, just to sort of pick up the Dodypoll point, I suppose I agree, but it does seem to me to have been put together with some care in terms of the speeches. So that makes me think that it was at least anticipated that it would work. Some bits of the play are quite boilerplatey, aren't they? As people have already noticed, you know, that they kind of, you know, Alan's point about it sort of pulling out of the air what everybody's going to recognize. But the Doctor doesn't feel like that, and that might just because I don't know enough. But I agree, yeah, not necessarily now. I think it wouldn't be the words at all, it would be the physicality. The stuff about spite my nose, you know, so maybe we've got a grotesque of some description here. As to the play, I suppose I kind of agree with lots of other people. I think it's a totally heartless play. But you know, I think it, you know, in the manner of Joe Orton or somebody like that, you know, that you don't come out of this believing in anything whatsoever. And you know, in that sense, yeah, it is kind of a performing arts school, which, you know, kind of boys' company might be anyway, mightn't it? You know, it's just a bunch of 20-year-olds, and they really don't take any of these adult stories seriously. And if you approach it from that point of view, I think it could be made to work. But I agree that there are plenty of plays which have got all the virtues of this and more. It reminds me a bit of Wilde, you know, the short sense of Wilde is heartless. You know, and it's a bit like that, really. It is one very, very particular kind of comedy.
Dan, I saw first.
I just wanted to second that, because it took me a little while to work out the fact that he was using D instead of Z, which is the stereotypical French for the thing and the belbo and all that. But then it made me also interested in what other plays may have also used the D rather than the normal Z, as well as the vat for what. For the W, the wa sound. And just in terms of, you know, there's studies obviously on early modern English and how it's pronounced. I'm wondering now all of a sudden about how early modern French is pronounced, and the different dialects that they might have been trying to emulate, because it does seem very carefully constructed. And once you work that out, it really does make sense somehow.
I saw Sarah.
Yeah, having absolutely slagged this play off, I actually want to stand up for Dr. Doddy, because I felt the way Stephen read him today, he did work. Like Stephen had me in stitches with it, and I
okay, he's problematic in that he's like, oh yeah, generic comedy foreigner. But actually, like he in himself, for me, was not the problem. It was the fact, like, if he'd been in a different sort of play that was less heartless, less sneery, then actually he would have just been. He would have been fine. It's the fact that there wasn't anything to offset against him for me. There was no kind of, there wasn't any heart in the rest of it. So there was nothing to contrast him with. But as a trope in himself, I didn't find him that problematic in that. I mean, obviously he's comedy foreigner, but actually as a comedy foreigner, cliche, I actually thought he worked pretty well. I didn't find him problematic in that sense.
Lois.
I found him actually quite funny. I mean, my main objection was to his appearance in the final scene, which I just thought was kind of unpleasant and not funny, and actually kind of lowered the whole tone of the thing. I do think there are some kind of sympathetic people in this play. I mean, Casimir chooses to marry Cornelia simply, as far as I can see, out of friendship for her father, although he says he loves her now and certainly treats her with respect. And, you know, both Catherine and Constantine are terribly nice to poor Lucilia and Hyanthe, and, you know, try to bring things together at the end and have that kind of amiable manner that people have when they're so aristocratic that they can look down on everybody else. I don't know. I think it might seem a bit warmer if we could get rid of that last bit with the doctor being deceived by the merchant, which is such a gratuitous bit anyway. I think the rest of the play might actually work rather nicely.
Eric.
I was just going to mention about like what Daniel was. Sorry, I'm just going to skip back to Daniel, Dan, about the bit that with the parts about like the language. That was quite interesting because compared to, say, I think it was the Peddler's Prophecy, or I can't remember which one it was. We've done it in the past week or something with the Italian merchant, where he had the sort of pan-European accent, and it was like, okay, like if you read it cold, it just doesn't work. Like it kind of, you have to do the whole, oh, mamma mia, it is a very difficult day for me. Whereas like it's kind of, if you read it like sort of, the mamma mia, it doesn't really work. Kind of, I don't know.
Stephen.
Yeah, well, just to support that, I suppose, and it works much better if you don't think of it as any particular accent for the Doctor. I think because, and if you were doing it now, I think you'd be well advised not to make him, the comedy Frenchman, because then you just immediately tap into all of that stuff. But if you think he's a kind of a grotesque, then he is going to be made of bits and pieces, and you're never going to rest with, Italian, because, and it seems to me again that perhaps that's deliberate, perhaps the point that Dan made about it not necessarily looking like, wooing scenes in French or whatever it is, that might actually be a deliberate writing of it, so that we're not, we've got something which is outside any one particular narrow stereotype. Perhaps, but that would be a good way to do it now, I think, would be to try and resist that temptation.
Lynn?
So yes, sort of piggybacking on Stephen and the previous commenters, if you were in a position where you weren't afraid or didn't have any reason not to adapt fairly heavily or take some liberties with the text, you might portray the Doctor, rather than French, as somebody who's trying really hard to be poshy. So he has a really exaggerated received pronunciation accent that obviously is not his. Or if you did a modern setting, maybe you could make him American, so that, he's got this highfalutin American education, and now he's trying to insert himself into British society, so that you're kind of more punching up rather than making fun of foreigners.
I think, to be fair, the French is still a major world power. I'm not sure, especially with the rate our country is currently going in, that it will be it could ever be really in the future punching down.
There you go.
Right, Sasha, then Dan, I see.
Yeah, so it was just a quick one to say I agree highly there with Lynn, because you know, even if you didn't want to go down the whole thing with the sending up of Poirot, let's say, you could actually very easily get away with either the American or the really exaggerated Oscar Wilde RP. For some bizarre reason, I see him as a fop. I don't know why, but just to reflect something else somebody said in the chat there, very smarmy, sort of, and I think somebody said in the chat, where was it? Some kind of oily snake oil salesman. That's it. Snake oil salesman with a fake British accent. That could be quite interesting as well. So you could, if you wanted to, again, you could take a stereotype of somebody in the UK and how we see the whole thing with the British salesman versus the American salesman, and we could see that person like a chameleon, kind of adapting to each person, manipulating the situation if you wanted to go down that road. Something quite
Dan.
interesting about that.
Just quick, agree. Reminds me of restoration comedy. For example, The Man of Mode, where you have Sir Fopling Flutter, who comes back from France and he thinks that he's so sophisticated. Yes, he knows French, but he certainly thinks he's now better than everyone else there. And I think that would be a lovely interpretation. I liked Steve's interpretation. I thought it was hilarious. And yeah, so that's it.
So as I close the session, it seems to lead me to me. I find some of the reactions quite interesting, because, you know, so many people have laughed and have enjoyed large chunks, and then we have people saying, you know, is it salvageable? I'm going, people seem to really have fun. You didn't seem to be not enjoying yourself. So I'm finding some of the reactions interesting.
Robert, lost you. Can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
I've lost everybody. What's going on?
Ah.
Headphones unplugged.
I suppose we should say something so she can hear whether she can hear us. If we all just sit here being silent, that's not really very helpful. Yeah, so I don't see it as a play that's salvageable, because I don't really see there's fundamental problems. There are problems with it. There are lots of problems with it. There's lots of problems with pretty much any comedy set in the early modern period, because of you know, just history. But I definitely see this as a play that functions perfectly well. In terms of its overall shape, it's got plenty of gags. I think there's certainly a question about tone, and the people bringing up cynicism. And you know, if you did this in a rep with other plays from this company of around the same time, then I think in context it suddenly comes alive in a way, that you know, maybe the men are all shits because they're supposed to be, and you know, that's not an accident of the patriarchy. That there is an agenda going on in this play as well. The grotesquerie nature, and I'm wondering whether that can be played up. So there are all sorts of questions there that I see that there's a lot more potential in this. The only real problem is fundamentally cast size. I think some people can be trimmed or extreme doubled out, but we have something of a sense of how big the cast would have to be by that final scene, the curse of Act 5, for everybody's doubling charts. But it's not even that extreme, and with the music and you know, with costuming and lights and fairies and songs, there's hope, I feel, for this play actually. I just because I felt the room got very negative there. So I feel it's my job to just lighten it and just say, you know, people laughed. I saw you. You were laughing.
I laughed a lot.
You know, and it's a comedy. So you know, that doesn't mean it doesn't have problems, but I think they're solvable, and that's my final thought, because I'm speaking last. So that all that remains for me, if you disagree, rewind. You can go back and watch everybody else again. So if you have any thoughts about the wisdom of Dr. Dodipoll, for or against, you can always send thoughts and missives on Twitter at Beyond Shakes. Thoughts, opinions, passive-aggressive abuse are all welcome. All that remains is to thank all the readers today and say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.